Hey everybody, welcome to Aniki, the podcast about anime with two brothers. I'm Ben.
And I'm a randomly generated number.
Yes, you are. That explains so much about you.
So, I like it. So, I was explaining my random number problems to a coworker. And I was like, here, let me demonstrate how good random.org is. Please pick a random number between 1 and 100. And she picked 42. So I was like, all right, so let's just roll.
It's 42.
It popped up with 42.
What are the odds?
Like, well, how about that? About 1 in 100, to be honest.
Yeah, roughly.
Roughly 1 in 100, turns out. But I was like, congratulations, you did it.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since last we spoke?
Let's see here. Watched a lot of Bakemonogatari because I didn't watch like any the week before.
Same.
So I had to like mainline that. Now, when you watched it, did you watch the 12 episode version or the 15 episode version?
The 15.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
I can't imagine what the 12 is like. That last arc has to just be like complete garbage.
It would have to be, I would assume. Of course, I would know which ones they would cut out, and they're the best ones.
Yeah, because they would cut out the date episode, and that episode is one of the best anime episodes of any anime of all time.
Absolutely agree, and we will definitely talk about that.
It is so good. Yeah, other than that, playing Overwatch, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Annie's been playing Ni no Kuni II. I've been watching her play Ni no Kuni II.
Oh, was that any good?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Cool. Of course, it really should have just been called Ni no Kuni.
Puns.
Yeah, well, do what you can. Well, if you don't like puns, then why did you watch Bakemonogatari? Because you don't understand any of the puns, so they go over your head.
None of the puns. So,
okay.
Wife and I finished watching the one good show that we decided to actually keep watching this season, which was Kokkoku.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It was interesting, the way they ended it. They had, well, I can't say why it's interesting because that's spoilers.
Well, here's something also interesting. You know Violet Evergarden?
Yes.
It actually came out. Netflix got it.
Oh, wow.
And they just put it out on
good.
Netflix.
All of it at once?
Yeah. So you can watch all 13.
Hooray.
Because again, they wait for the whole show to be out and then dump it all at once, which is convenient in a time like this. But when it's
airing,
one of the most hotly anticipated shows of the entire season, they're like, nah.
It is very pretty looking.
Ingram said it was very, very good, so I'm probably going to watch it. And it's just 13, so we could watch it for the show.
Possibly. But Kokkoku...
That's the time stop show,
That's the
right?
time stop show. It does not have the ending you would expect, but it still feels not fully fleshed out. It's good.
Is it? Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
It's probably
is it a good ending? On a scale of 1 to My Hime.
It's not My Hime.
Okay, well, My Hime being like one of the worst endings of all time.
No. It has 2 endings, and the first ending, I think, was done well. But it leaves something unresolved, and then the way that thing gets resolved, I didn't feel was very satisfying. But up until that point...
it's kind of like Flip Flap then.
A little bit like Flip Flappers.
Yeah.
In that respect.
Like, guys, you had a better ending. You should have gone with that. Or at least like tweaked it a little bit.
I'd give the whole show as a whole package 6 or a 7.
That's not too bad.
It's worth a shot.
Like it's an interesting concept.
It's a half season. Hey guys, Editor Ben here. We are about to spoil pretty much all the big plot twists in Harry Potter, the Deathly Hallows, and the entire series as a whole. So if you don't want to get any of those, go ahead and skip to 9 minutes, and we'll meet you there. I also finished all of the Harry Potter books.
Oh yeah. So how's your journey into Harry Potter been?
I think the biggest boon for me is I can now go onto the internet
and complain about stuff
and read all these jokes that I haven't understood for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, hooray! I don't have to be afraid anymore. I live in a new age.
Yeah, there you go.
I may have spent the day after I finished Deathly Hallows, like the whole day, just going through our Harry Potter and reading all the memes.
Oh, there you go.
It was worth my time.
How did you enjoy it?
I will be apparently on the weird side and say I think the last book may be the best one.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have to reread them to make that comment. Most people agree Goblet of Fire is the best.
Goblet of Fire was my favorite up until the last one. And I think as a whole, the story in Goblet of Fire is probably better because it has a lot of moving parts. But the last one, because it was so different from all the other ones, except for the last ultimate fight, I thought it was probably...
That's kind of weak.
It was my personal favorite.
Okay.
It's not the best story, but I liked it the most.
I think she copped out a lot with the deaths.
There were a couple of them, yes.
None of the deaths had any punch, because she killed no one that really matters.
True.
The first one's like the freaking bird. And then she kills one of the twins, and it's like, hey, Rawling, this would make sense if you had done a good job making the twins unique from each other, but you actually didn't, so you killed the one person there's literally a backup of.
Or if they had explored the impact of that on the other twin.
Yeah, and again, the biggest problem and the reason that none of the deaths really count is because Harry Potter as a series has 3 primary characters.
And you know none of them are going to die.
2 secondary characters, and one of them's already dead at this point, and then a bajillion tertiary characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were 2 main problems with the last book. One was the ultimate fight, given the buildup of 7 books, was kind of eh. And the other thing was, and I had been told about this, that she sort of pandered to fans in the last 2 books, which I saw some of. But the biggest one was in the Battle of Hogwarts. Let's name drop as many people as possible.
Oh,
and I'm like, okay, I understand that they are all there because, of course, they are.
Yeah,
that's where they live.
Really needed to just be like, and this person fought this person.
No, it's like, and then this person came out and threw a thing, and then she's never mentioned again. Okay, you either need to do more with that character or not mention it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just feels like cameo guys.
Yeah. Really, if she had any cojones, she would have murdered Hagrid. That's the person to kill, to like give somebody like an actual emotional response to anyone in that book dying. Though that being said, I have met people who like cried when the owl died, and it's like,
that was,
come on, come on.
I did not know that would happen. Sorry if we're spoiling this for anyone.
I mean, come on, it's 20 years old. First off, you did kill the owl, which is kind of a dick move. On the other hand, I have no emotional attachment to this thing whatsoever.
I don't either, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, it has been a constant fixture through all these things, and it was the Turkish Mashaz owl. So
it was the Turkish Mashaz. I mean, it's kind of a dick move to kill a pet, but I mean, at that point, you're getting sympathy from somebody not because of how much a character was liked, but because somebody killed a pet, and that's lame.
Killed the pet, and then immediately blew the pet up, and then doesn't talk about it again.
Yeah,
like I expected at some point like he would get sad about it because he had lots of time to get sad about it. But the only time it's mentioned is like right afterwards when they're still fleeing, and he's like, "I know I need to be sad about that, but right now I've got a thing to do." I'm like, "Okay, that's fair. He's gonna grieve later." Nope, he forgets it.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, the deaths were all really lame and lacked any emotional punch.
Mm-hmm. But it is a series that I can see reading to my kids at some point.
I mean, yeah, no, they're fine.
It's good kids.
As long as you don't think about it too hard. If you think about the wizarding world of Harry Potter for more than about 6 minutes, your brain starts to melt.
That my kid is really my child if I ever read this book to them and they're like, how come they're not using pens? I'm like,
there's all sorts of things. You just can't, you can't think about for more than 6 minutes. 6 minutes is like top.
Why can't they have pens?
There's all sorts of things that are problematic that just don't make any sense. And remember, there's probably at least a Jewish kid at Hogwarts. Rowling has said that.
Yes, and knowing her, she'll probably put them in Slytherin. I mean, that's what she did with all the goblins, you know. They're pretty... It's pretty obvious what the goblins are.
Yeah, well...
She doesn't hide it very well.
She's an odd woman, so it's best not to worry about it too much.
She is silly. Speaking of silly women, and lots of them...
Yes.
Let's talk about
Golden Girls. Got it.
Golden Girls.
What? You said silly women and lots of them. I made the only logical jump that makes sense.
Is that the only one though?
Only one I can think of.
About Sex in the City.
They're not silly or funny. They're not entertaining.
You could be silly in the derogatory sense.
One of them looks like Beta Ray Bill.
I need to Google that so I'm reminded.
As Ben Googles Beta Ray Bill.
Yep.
Here comes your like multi-layer deep cut.
Well, we need one per episode.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. So Google Beta Ray Bill.
Oh yeah, this guy.
So what does his face look like?
It's the horse Thor or Thorse.
Or Thorse. Thanks, ants. Thance.
Indeed.
And therefore, the reference would be to
Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah.
No, not Sarah Michelle Gellar.
The other one. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Michelle Gellar is... I'm going to sound like an idiot. Buffy?
Yes.
Okay. It's like, Buffy?
Now we have both
Please
goofed.
Don't get this wrong. Well, I'm terrible with actor names, so...
I am too, as witnessed.
As witnessed. It's like very different. One is Buffy. One has a face like a horse.
Sad day.
Sorry.
So let's talk about other monsters and
Okay.
the women they
there you
inhabit.
go. That's a much better segue. Let's talk about monsters. There you go. Going from Sarah Jessica Parker to monsters. There you go.
So, Bakemonogatari. Now, I issued a challenge to you a week ago.
Yeah.
Explain in one sentence the plot of Bakemonogatari.
Explain it in a sentence. That's not easy to do.
And I tried to do that too. That was before I started rewatching it.
Oh, yeah.
And having rewatched it, I stand by my original assessment. My version was, it's a show about Shinto and why Shinjo Gahara is best girl.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's not wrong.
And yours was, boy helps ghost girls fix their own problems.
Yeah, more or less.
That's pretty
not
much
all of them are ghosts. They're more like monster girls, but yeah.
Well, they have ghost-ish issues.
Yeah, ghost issues. Ghost adjacent problems.
Yeah.
Hashtag just ghost problems.
Ghost problems. And that is pretty much the show. So, high-level overview.
That sentence we just said.
Yeah. There's a boy named, I'm going to screw this up, Aradagi.
Not Rararagi.
Rararagi.
Was it Kimimashita? I stuttered.
Yeah. Or Makimashita.
Araragi. What's his first name? I can never remember it.
Kiyomi.
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 Yeah.
And he goes around and he tends to pick up chicks.
Well, he was a vampire once. It is important he was a vampire that one time. This one time over spring break, totes a vampire. He got better.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, maybe a better name for this show would be like, My Spring Break with a Vampire.
Yeah.
And subsequent stories.
Yep. And no, because we never get that original story.
No, not in this series. So, Araragi goes around picking up chicks.
Yeah.
And then taking them to a creepy old school where they have their ghost problems solved.
Where they solve their ghost problems. It's very important.
I didn't say they were solved for them.
And
they just
then
go
they
there
solve their ghost problem.
and they become solved.
And they get solved, yeah.
In ways. Various ways. We can't really delve too much more into that.
It's a very odd series. Well, I think the other things we should say are things such as it's notorious for talking heads.
There's a lot of talking, but not a lot of heads.
It fixes this problem by being directed by the guy who did Sayonara, Zetsubou Sensei, and Madoka Magica.
See, and when you say that, a lot of stylistic choices make much more sense.
Yeah, it's like the only reason this show works the way it is, and it's not just like two people on a static background yapping at each other for 12 to 15 episodes, is because it's directed by that guy who has a vision, gosh darn it, and he's going to make it happen. Because it's expertly directed. The way it is directed is what makes the show great.
If you've seen Zetsubou Sensei, you know that he really loves having weird text frames.
Yep.
And he uses those to great effect in the show.
He uses all of his directorial techniques to great effect in the show. Because, I mean, it is basically a show built around clever banter and then just like, how out there can I get this art direction? Because all I have to work with here is like witty dialogue.
And that's it.
How do you animate witty dialogue for 12 to 15 episodes?
I don't know, but he does.
But by gum, he found a way.
Oh, yes, he did. It's extremely stylized. It's got a lot of witty dialogue.
The backgrounds are so good. Just the frames of this show are so good. Like every frame is so well done.
And every frame is on purpose.
Oh yeah, it's very intentional. The entire show is extremely intentional.
Yeah, you never get the feeling like there's a throwaway scene. Even though, in anime, every scene obviously has to be
kind of
pre-planned.
throwaway jokes, but I mean, they're doing things.
Yeah, things are happening, and whatever's on screen is meant to be there.
Yeah. Every shot is framed just the way he wants. At least in the 15 episode Blu-ray version. Now, you can watch the show on Crunchyroll. It's 12 instead of 15 episodes, so they cut 3 out of the final arc. And also, it's in 720p because
gross.
Aniplex hates you.
These are true facts.
Never watch this show in 720p, as that's a crime against yourself, humanity, and this television show.
Agreed.
It demands to be watching as high a res as you can get your hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
For no other reason, so you can freeze frame stuff. Because every episode starts out with like text from the light novels that they're from. You can read it if you want, but I mean, it's not intended to be read. They go by too fast for even somebody who can read Japanese to like read it.
Indeed.
So they're there to
again, high level
set mood and tone.
How would you grade this show before we go into spoiler land?
Well, I think the other thing we need to say is that it is technically a fan service / ecchi show. So if you don't like that, or you can get past it.
I want to argue with that, but I can't.
Oh, you can't really, no. The thing is even like Annie really likes it. And for good reason. It's like, it's an ecchi show, but I mean, the characters in it are sexy, but they're not overly sexualized.
Indeed.
Which says a lot and really helps.
Unless they need to be, which in certain arcs they need to be.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. So, I mean, it makes sense, but it's done better than it has a right to be. It's kind of like Katawa Shoujo, where you'd be like, there's no way this is tasteful. There's no way that this is going to be tasteful. And then you watch, you're like, well, that was pretty tasteful.
Yes, and I think the reason it's tasteful is because the whole show is told from a teenage boy's literal point of view.
Yes, and that helps it too, because you're like, well, I mean, he is like a 16-year-old horny teen.
Yeah, he's going to be looking places, and that's where the camera goes. The camera is always following whatever he's looking at.
There's lots of great phrasings. So you don't get much of Araragi's internal monologue in the show for good reason, but it does come from light novels, and you do get some like really good internal monologues about stuff, internal dialogue about things that go on in the novels. They're like really clever and witty.
But
yeah, no,
they do a good job
design.
trying to convey that by using the visuals.
Yeah, they do. So I really like this show, but you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready for the sexiness it's going to have in it. I would put it like an 8 because it's like, I think it's a must watch if you get into anime.
I think it is too.
Like most things that this director does, like Madoka Magica, right? Like it is a must watch. It's like a 9 or a 10. You have to watch it, but you can only watch it once you're ready. You can only watch it once you've seen actual magical girl shows. Because if you don't get what it's doing, you're just going to be like, well, that was a cool, badass show, and not understand what it's like trying to like say or explore.
I think I would agree. I think I would give it an 8 or a 9.
But you have to be like ready. You can't just go into it cold. You have to watch you just have to watch other, like, I guess high anime is the best way to put it. You have to watch other stuff before you're ready for a show like this.
You have to be willing to get out of what is, I guess, quote unquote, the mainstream anime, because this is so heavily stylized and done in its own way.
And you have to get ready to read and read really fast.
Like, if you're not ready for this kind of storytelling, then it's going to just go way over your head. If you're not ready for text to be
thrown at you from a Gatling gun of wit.
And you have to be prepared
puns.
And just accept that you're not going to understand half the jokes. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, a lot of them are language based to Japanese, and you're just going to have to deal with the fact that it's not going to work out well.
Yeah. So with that out of the way, in spoiler land, let's talk about the animation in more detail. Because I really liked.
It's phenomenal.
Yes, it's phenomenal.
What do you want? It's some of the best animation that exists.
I noticed off the bat it is heavily kabuki-ized.
Yeah, I give you that. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Pretty much every episode starts with, like you say, the text from the book.
Yeah,
running by faster and faster and faster.
It's very staged to the wood claps too.
To the wood claps, just like a stage thing is getting set up, and all the set pieces are extremely stage-like.
Yeah, they're very flat. This show is. I wouldn't go quite so far as to call it super flat, but it's the backgrounds are definitely getting there.
They're flat.
The backgrounds are extremely flat.
And yet they're enormously expansive.
Oh yeah, no, they're great.
Like the school.
The backdrops in it are so good.
Just the opening scene from the school.
The bamboo forest from Nadeko Snake, so good.
That's probably the best part of that arc. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah, Nadeko Snake arc is not super great, but the backgrounds in it are phenomenal.
But especially like in the park scene of the snail arc.
Oh, those are so good.
When he is first meeting Shinjogahara after their little adventure.
No, that whole thing is so well done.
This park is just enormous, and they're the only two people there. And because they're the only two people there, and then they're in this huge space, the closer she gets to him, it's somehow way more intimate, and you can feel viscerally how awkward it is.
Oh yeah, no, there's tons of great stuff about that entire scene. So in the book, they're just like sitting next to each other talking, and that's fine, but it's very boring for animation. But the way their playful banter goes and the way he like mirrors that with them playing in the space is so well done.
I know.
Like they'll be on the seesaw and they'll be like going back and forth while literally going back and forth.
Still
like,
having the exact same conversation.
It's very clever.
I really like that. Well, the snail arc in general is
the snail
amazing.
Arc is very good. Mayoi Mai Mai is just a great story.
One thing I had come up, and I'd like to get your take on this, is you'll notice throughout the entire series there are just these blank frames that just say black scene or red scene.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Well, the red scenes definitely tend to buffet around ero scenes, like 100%. They're like always sexually loaded scenes is what the red scenes always are. And the black tend to be, I don't know. He just likes to use those as transitions. Instead of doing a wipe or just a smash cut, he just intercuts with a black scene thing. And it's usually at least a more dialogue heavy scene, or just, I think they're just there to break things up because he wants a scene transition. But I know all the red scene transitions are always like a sexually charged scene.
That actually makes more sense given what I heard from somebody else. I asked them, what do you think these mean? And they said that they had thought about it and had actually done some digging, and they think that because the whole story is told from his point of view, that the black scenes are actually when he's closing his eyes. And they pointed out
that's not
that
too bad.
The reason that is the black scene cards usually come up between transitions of when his focus is changing.
Oh, I mean, that's true. But I mean, that's also...
And that plays into what you said about if it is from his point of view and suddenly it's a red scene, that's like something flipped in his brain that, hey, that's something to be looking at right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a decent read. I'm not quite sure it needs to go quite that far, because if you're doing something on film, right, every scene transition is when you're changing focus of a scene. So, I mean...
But this is the Zetsubou guy, so...
Yeah, if you want to take it the extra step and say it's like literally when the character's blinking, like that's not too bad. But
no, it's not like every time. It was just like a representation of maybe he's contemplating, or we are actually not just switching.
Yeah, I mean it's a very intentional pause, right? So it is a way to signify to you, the viewer, that's like we are changing subjects or very specific focuses of a scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it needs to be so tied to what Araragi is doing so much as just what's happening. And the show is from his point of view regardless, so I think that's taking an extra step, which is not necessarily wrong or an incorrect interpretation. No, I'm not sure that's an intended thing, but I think it's fine. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it.
They are interspersed throughout all the episodes, but the arc that they show up the most in, and to its detriment, is the Nadeko snake arc. They are heavily in that, and they linger for far too long, especially in the second episode.
Yeah. Well, I think they were just padding for space.
Yeah, that was...
Because the Nadeko snake is very short, and it doesn't do a whole lot. Not a lot happens in it.
There were only two good things in that arc from my point of view. One was the backgrounds.
Lolicon? Oh, okay.
And the second one was...
Lolicon.
Kind of. So we had Kanbaru and Araragi in his room, and they've got Nadeko there. And she's like, hey, could you two turn around while I show you what my problem is? And they're like, okay, fine. And they turn around, and they turn back, and when she's basically nude on his bed, they both make the best face.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. No. Ironically, the best thing about the Nadeko snake arc is the relationship building between Kanbaru and Araragi.
Yeah. Especially since you know that she is not interested in him at all.
Yeah, that's the only interesting thing that's going on, right? Mm-hmm. Because, like, Nadeko doesn't really get any...
Screen time, really?
Anything. She doesn't have any real character development or a real character arc or learn anything. So, really, the only, like, arc or movement in that entire story is between Kanbaru and Araragi. I haven't read that part in the books yet, so I don't know how intentional that is or what, but I guess I'll find out.
So, of the arcs... And there are how many? 5? 5 arcs?
Yeah.
Which arc would you say is the best arc?
Best. Mayoi Mai Mai is really good. Tsuruga Monkey. I think those might actually be the best too.
My personal best is the snail arc. It has to be.
It's very good. There's lots of great banter in it, and just the actual like ghost story in it is very well done.
It is very well done.
The way it flips your perspective on things. And the way that like watching a second time when you know the flip and you can see all the little things of how it's constructed is very clever.
Yeah, I had forgotten a lot of those things. Like I knew the end result that she's actually the ghost.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten all the clues leading to that.
Yeah. There's lots of great art in it too. How much Mayoi does like physically look like a snail, and like on the turn when Araragi realizes she's the snail and there's just like this great shot of her shadow is just like really well done, which is really nice too, because those are things you literally couldn't do in the light novels at all. And the fact that they come from a light novel instead of a manga means they could like really tie the art into the story in like really interesting ways.
Yeah. Well, and it also that arc brought up something very interesting. Well, two big things about Shinjo Gahara. Like it cements their relationship, hers and Araragi's relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gives you a really good, like, the reason why she loves him is, like, really cool and interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, generally you get the sort of sense of, oh, you would just save anyone. And in most anime that's, like, not well written, that's, like, a deal breaker. But in this, it's like, no, I love you because you would save anyone.
Yeah.
Because that means you are a good person.
Good person deep down, no matter how much you try to molest small snail girls.
Well, you know, technically she's older than both of them.
And she's dead, so it doesn't really count.
It's the tsunami defense. Not only is she dead, but she's also technically older than both of them. So that's fine. Just throwing that out there.
Well, and the other thing I was going to bring up was she spends the entire arc not seeing the snail and not mentioning it. And normally they'd play that off in any other show as just, oh, well, I couldn't see the snail, but you were having a good go of it or something. But her reason was she had just spent the last arc and the last 2 years of her life being weird.
Yeah, it's really dark.
And she did not want to be weird again, because even though what she's seeing is clearly insane, where this guy is fighting himself and there's no one else around, and he's having fights and arguments with no one else.
And it makes sense too, where it's like, from her point of view, yes, of course, it's like, I have to be the one that's wrong. Like, I can't see something. That probably means I'm the problem. Not Araragi is seeing something that objectively isn't there. It's like, oh, my perspective is the incorrect one instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense too, given her background.
So I was like, that's just a really deep character development.
Yeah, well, especially the end of it too, right? When Araragi says he has that stipulation to go out with Shinjo Gahara, it's like, if our perspectives are ever different, we need to talk about it. It's like, yes, that's actually good, solid relationship advice.
Yeah.
It's like, that is what you should do. If you have a different perspective than someone, you talk about it. You don't ignore it.
I still rank
or play along
that relationship beginning as the best start of a relationship I have seen in any anime ever. And I am not kidding, because it's based on mutual respect, mostly level-headedness, a willingness to actually come together and talk about things.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
it's really
this is a mature relationship, and
I know. Well,
it's just started, and the whole show is about them being in a relationship. It's not will they, won't they. It's like, yep, they're in one.
Yeah. Especially the way the other arcs go, where 2 of the remaining 3 arcs are about the fallout of the fact that he has decided to date her.
Yeah.
And like, that's cool and interesting.
Well, and it goes in the direction that you do not expect with anime. In any other anime, it'd be like, oh, he's going to be stolen away. How is she going to get him away? And it's like, no, he's actually devoted. And because they're in a strong relationship, she actually like lets him go off with all these other girls by himself. She's like, yeah, he's not going to do anything. I trust him.
Well, I mean, part of that has to do with like legit threats on his life.
Well,
or the lives
she'll
of
probably
others.
stab someone or kill someone. And I mean, that's normal. Like I said, mostly level-headedness.
Well, it's also interesting because, like, I know you read the novel. I don't know how far you got in it.
Just the first arc.
Okay, so in the second arc of it, there's some more internal monologue stuff. And part of the internal monologue is when they're talking about Mayoi's parents and how you have to choose to love someone and try every day to love them. And how that flows into the beginning of Araragi and Shinjo Gahara's relationship, too.
Well, see, that makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, where he's like, where even Shinjo Gahara in the novel is like, yeah, I don't actually think I love you yet, but I want to try to.
See, and that...
And like Aranagi is like, I would like to do that too. And it's like, yes, that's good. This is smart.
That is how this works.
This is well done. You haven't quite fallen in love yet, but you both want to try to with each other. And that's very interesting.
It's weird for high school students to come to that conclusion. And it's extremely weird for an anime to come to that conclusion when everything else is like,
and to do it.
Oh, I have these feelings and stuff. But when those feelings
I wish that
leave,
was more in the show.
Because that's how our whole society works right now. It's like, well, I feel in love, therefore I am. And in this show, right there at the start, they're like, I choose to love you.
Yeah.
And we're just going to deal with that fact. Like, yes, finally.
It's like, yeah, no, you are being smart. I wish that was a little more in the anime, but considering that a lot of those thoughts are like literal internal monologue thoughts, then it's fine.
Yeah.
I can't be too mad at it.
So that's a good segue into just going off the first arc, because that's all I had access to. How did you feel between the book and the show?
I like them both. They're definitely two sides of a coin. Yeah, I've started Suruga Monkey, and already like there's some really like interesting things that you get from internal monologue thoughts. So I really like them both. They complement each other very well. You can definitely tell that the novel was serialized first. And that hurts any novel series, is it being serialized and then bound in a collection. Because it's the same problem with, like, I love John Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
So much. But you can really tell the first couple books are serialized, because it's like they'll repeat stuff every chapter, or every chapter's got to end on a weird cliffhanger. So you read the next issue and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, that's just a problem with the medium.
My issue was I hadn't seen the anime in 8 years. So I read the book. I'd forgotten what all the stylized changes were.
Yeah.
So I read it using a typical anime setting in my head. Typical school, everything. And the book isn't really all that great.
It's not very descriptive of the surrounding.
And because of that, it's honestly not very believable given the situations and contexts for the dialogue the characters have.
Also, here's another interesting question for you. Have you read any other Japanese light novels?
A couple.
Okay.
And
what have you read?
I'd have to go over on my shelf and look.
Well, because here's what's interesting is that like Japanese light novels, especially ones like this, how to put this? Like when you read a Western novel, right? You kind of assume that it's playing by real world rules, right?
Sure.
Like if you were to even read like Goosebumps or like Animorphs back in the day, you're just like, oh, this is a real life setting where all these people are human. But a lot of light novels sort of start with the assumption that you're living in anime manga land first, and then take it from there. So it's not like you're reading about humans, you're reading about manga characters, and there's a distinction there which is very weird and interesting, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around when you're reading Japanese light novels.
Yeah, that may have played a part.
Yeah, because like you really have to like change the way you're thinking when you're reading light novels. You look at the illustrations. Are there manga illustrations? If yes, then this takes place in manga land, and these aren't like human being characters. These are manga characters.
I guess that would explain the cavalier attitude the characters had when they're having these witty banters. Because it's like, yeah, all this weird crap is going on, and you guys seem like, yeah, whatever, typical Tuesday.
Yeah, it is very scripted, and normally, like, that would, like, if I was reading a Western novel, that would read very strange. But since it's a Japanese light novel, it's like, I don't know, it's like a switch gets flipped in your brain, and you're like, oh, this is a manga land.
But even in a normal anime, I feel like there's no context here for me to believe why these people are having this kind of conversation. But this anime fixes that, because the art is so stylized and the way everything is shown with these ridiculous perspectives, the crazy plays with light and dark and everything
and
being
the shaft head tilt.
Just everything is already more exaggerated than normal things would be. It's like, yeah, sure. Why wouldn't they be cavalier? Because the space they're in has already informed me that this is wacky land.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. But yeah, I think, yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, the only thing I would say is like, obviously that art direction was still inspired by the novel.
Oh,
so
sure.
There's still definitely, but yeah. I see your point. It gives you the visual expectation up front.
Right. And it's only done through space. And that's
which
it.
I had already sort of done because I think I might just be a little more familiar with how a Japanese light novel works. So like you just kind of have to like wrap your head around. It's like, oh, anime land nonsense.
That may be.
But yeah. The anime is going to give you a better job of that because it's like literally showing you. It's like, oh, we are in anime land nonsense.
So one other thing I wanted to discuss, and I thought this came out at me in the third arc, and that is the very religious nature of this show, and I don't just mean Shintoism.
Oh yeah, no, it's very interesting. What I like about it, I'm going to go deep with Terry Mattingly ideas here, is that it actually takes the time to take religion seriously. Whereas like other media just doesn't, right?
From what perspective are you coming at this? Because I've got a very specific one.
Oh, I mean, just in general, like it just takes the whole concept of religion as like being like a serious thing that you should think about and deal with, that normal people actually think about. A good way to put this is, I'm in a lot of role playing forums and stuff, and like everybody has a character, but like nobody's character feels like informed by a religious worldview at all, which is weird, right? Because like literally everyone is, even if you're an atheist, agnostic, or something, like you're bringing a religious worldview to the table.
Sure.
And lots of books are like that too, where it's like you don't get any idea that any character here is influenced by any sort of religion whatsoever, and that's just strange because real people are. But you just sort of get used to it with media. But Bakemonogatari does sort of take, it's like there is a religious landscape here, and we are taking it like serious. Like this is a real thing that matters to these people, at least in some regard. Even if it's like folk tradition stuff that Shinto is, like it's still doing it.
It's interesting you bring it up that way because I heard a podcast once. I'll have to go find that episode again. But they were talking about the folk religion of Japan back in the day. And they said that it was extremely wrong to think about it as, oh, these are just superstitious leanings and explanations for natural phenomena that happened.
Oh,
it's like,
no, absolutely.
That's a very pragmatic and simplistic
of
way of thinking about this, because when you're in that space at that time and you have those things happening and you're in those woods, it's not just this tree fell down or got hit by lightning, it's the gods or something. It was, no, this is how the world works. It's
extremely naive to think of pre-enlightenment people as being naive. It's like they're not dumb.
No, this wasn't just an explanation for that weird thing over there. This informed everything about their lives.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're right. That aspect of it comes through in Bakemonogatari because you have this crab, no one can see it, but it's there. It's big, it's bulky, and it will hurt you.
And it's very similar to how Mushishi is and works too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like these entities, these simple supernatural oddities aren't doing, there's a couple exceptions, but most of them aren't doing anything maliciously. They're there, they're doing what they're doing. Like like how Tsubasa Cat like even says like to Araragi, it's like, you can't be our friends. We're here to exist and do our own thing, and we are meant to be respected.
Well, and he says throughout the entire show that even though these bad things are happening to humans because of the oddities, he doesn't ever want to get mad at the oddities because they're just being what they are.
Yeah, they're just doing their thing. And especially Oshino, too, who's just like, yeah, dude, like, honestly, it's your fault for having run into this thing. Like, every problem that arises in the show, it's the character's fault. And the oddity is just like, not even taking advantage of the situation. It's there doing what you asked it to do to help the situation. And usually that's hurting you, but that's mostly because of your own silliness. You're the one who wished on the monkey paw to be like, other people are better at running than me, and I really wish they weren't, and I really wish they got what was coming to them. It's like, yeah, okay, I can do that for you.
It doesn't matter that you were 8 years old when you made that wish. It's still on you.
They're like, yeah, you did it. Or it's like, I wish I didn't have these bad things in my past, and I didn't have to deal with them. And the crab's like, yeah, okay, I can fix that for you.
There you go.
Fixed.
So I was actually going to come at this from actually a level deeper. And I noticed this in the monkey arc. And that the show is actually very confessionally based. I see it more as like the Sacrament of Confession, the anime.
Yeah.
Especially in the first 4 arcs.
Yeah.
Because you have these people that have issues. And the oddities are there, yeah, sure. But what turns out to really be the problem is they have this deep-seated malignancy deep down inside of them. And then Araragi takes them to Oshino, who, by the way, has the cross of St. Peter hanging from his neck all the time. He takes them there and says, here, talk to this guy. And this guy says, you need to tell me exactly what happened. And they'll give some sort of half-assed story. And he's like, no. The real story. And it's not until they actually make that confession and then they put effort into changing that part of themselves.
Yeah, that's really
when the oddity goes away.
True.
And all of the oddities are very passion-based.
Yeah, no, that's true. Except Nadeko Snake, but we'll just leave her aside.
Well, that's cursing, but
because even
sure.
even Tsubasa Cat's like that, right? Like you don't get the Oshino part, but the solution is still a confession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I like that read a lot. I'm not quite sure that it is
intentional.
I'm not sure it's intentionally Christian in that way, but I think it is intentionally true that way. You know, I think it's a universal truism that confessing things fixes problems. I think we all know this.
Yes, but I do feel like while it may not be a strictly intentional thing that the author put in, I think he's been informed, because I can't believe it's a coincidence that Oshino does wear the Pope's symbol and he's taken by this kid. His school outfit looks very priestish like, and I know that's typical boy high school things. But
yeah, I mean that's
priest
not bad.
Kid takes him to Pope. Confessions happened. I'm just saying he was at least influenced.
Yeah, the director, probably. And again, you also have to throw on top of this the layering of just like the Japanese like to sort of fetishize Western religion the way we do Eastern religion sometimes. So I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, are you saying something or are you doing it because it's cool? Yeah, like there's just whole sorts of there's multi layers here, and it's hard to know which layer is.
But the fact that we even are talking about these layers.
Yeah, no, it means that it's a well-constructed show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it a very well-constructed show and piece of media.
Yeah. One other way we can tell this is a really well-constructed show and book series is all the characters have their own leitmotifs through dialogue, not through music. And I thought that was really nice.
Music's also super good.
Music's really great.
The background music is great. And let's not forget that each character has their own freaking theme song. And we do need to talk about who has the best theme song.
Snail. I think Snail has the best op.
Snail's really good. So the second best thing about the Nadeko Snake arc, 100% its opening. Its opening is so good. That song is great.
Yeah, that is probably the second best part of that.
Tsubasa Cat does get points for its op being called Sugar Sweet Nightmare. And it's a good song.
And all the pyramids. I did appreciate the pyramids once I realized it was a love triangle.
Yeah, it's a cat.
I get it.
They're cat ears and love triangles.
I'm down.
Very well done. It's like very good. Very good direction there. Love triangle and also cat ears. Yes, you did it.
But I wanted to pull it back to the leitmotif thing because all the characters, all the lady characters at least, have their own dialogue leitmotifs that I love. Class Rep has her, I don't know everything, I just know what I know.
Yep.
Snail Chick has the mispronouncing
I stuttered
Araragi's name. Like they have this whole banter. It's not like her catchphrase. It's very distinct from a catchphrase. It's this whole sequence of banter that goes back and forth between them.
It's how they banter with Araragi, right? Because you have the tsundere, you have sort of this playful trickster. They literally call it out. It's like Sugara is actually the arrow character, not actually the sporty character. It's like, that tracks.
Yeah.
You have the little sister motif.
Yeah, we've got all these motifs, and the way they're presented isn't...
They speak.
Yeah, it speaks to the character, but it's not just this banter that they have in certain situations. It's when that banter changes, you know that the context has shifted dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because like each one of them has like the playful banter mode, and then also the like, okay, now real talk.
Real talk, like when we've gone,
which is also good because in the anime they do another splash with it too, because they do the splash, they do a black scene splash, but it's like splash to sort of back to the story. I forget what it actually says, but it's something like let's get back to what we were actually talking about.
Yeah.
Instead of just screwing around.
Well, and the best example of that was the Tsubasa Cat when she's on the back of his bike and they go through that banter again. And instead of replying at the end, oh, I don't know everything, I just know what I know, she says, I don't know everything, I don't know anything. It's like, oh, we've gone somewhere. I don't like where this is going. Dark places. But the whole show has this nice call and response thing.
Oh yeah, very
I mean,
much
the dialogue
so.
is good, but we have this temporal call and response between like when they're deciding on the date. Like, we're going on a date. And she goes through this whole rigmarole of trying to convince him to ask her on a date. And then at the very end of the date episode, she goes through the whole thing again, except she's like, we're going to kiss now.
Yeah. Still calm, I see.
And
in the end, you do it calmly, yeah.
And the difference between when they're in the car, which is the best scene ever.
Oh, it's so good. Is she messing with him or her dad?
Or both.
Shoot. What was it from the Taco Bell commercial?
Why not to both?
Why not both?
But
it's very much. Oh, it's so good. Oh, and also, should we even start on talking about how good a character Shinjo Gahara's dad is? Because it's like, you're giving good actual like father-in-law advice here.
Yes.
You are actually being interesting and good. I wish my father-in-law told me those things and treated me like you were treating Araragi. It's like, this is like well written.
Yeah, that entire car scene was just it's choice.
So good. Yeah. There's no other word for it. Is choice. Is the choices. It is chef kiss. It is Italian chef kiss of anime. It does not get better than that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good parts of that, but the thing I wanted to call your attention to was
just the best episode.
When she goes on this long banter back and forth of, what do you love about me? Do you actually love me? But she's doing it in the back seat with her dad driving, and Araragi is not okay with this. It is so weird. Everything is like, what is she playing at? What's going on?
Yeah.
But then later when they're under the stars, she does the exact same thing. She's like, do you love me? And the context is completely different. And even though it's pretty much the exact same words, it's like totally different meaning.
Yep.
It's great. Expert use of the same dialogue.
Well, and what's interesting there too is you learn more about Shinjo Gahara, right? Because when Araragi turns the question back on her, she gives a set response with her dad in the car. And then again, under the stars, she gives the exact same set response.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shinjo Gahara, for all of her things, is both very deep and secretive and very surface level. Because she's just like a very interesting character that way.
It's like, if she's going to say something, you know it's going to be honest. But usually she won't tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that date episode, if they cut that out of the...
so good.
Did they cut that out?
They had to have. Yeah, they had to have, because the Tsubasa Cat arc is just 2 episodes. So it's like the first one, and like, it's got to be the first one, and then like 3, and...
That is a literal
last one
crime.
Oh, I know, because that episode's so good. I mean, I understand why you would cut it, because it doesn't do anything for the story.
Yeah, it's not part of that arc. It's got to be the best date I've ever seen in media.
It's so good.
It's like, yeah, I can see myself
and just her
in
whole
his
little
position.
Speech of being like, this is literally all I have, and I am giving it to you. And it's like, I have a gruff dad, these stars. That's it.
That's all I got.
I got nothing, but I got this, and you're getting it.
Yeah, that I believe you. 100%.
It's
I believe you.
Good. So good.
But yeah, the dad's advice to him is...
Oh, it's just all great. Just his entire conversation with Araragi is so well done.
Yeah, I haven't been a very good dad. I'm not really around as much. And she's been just super depressed for the last 3 years. And this is the happiest I've seen her. So if you can keep giving her that, by all means, please take care of her.
Yeah, no, it's just so...
Be the male in her life that she needs.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's just so much in this show that's just so well done and so realized. Like how none of the women are... none of them are like infantilized or anything, except maybe Nadeko. But we'll just
take
her
that
aside.
and put that over there.
Just put her away. Just put Nadeko into a box over there. We need to not worry about that. Sure, I want to read that because I want to see if like, is it just not very good, or is this like, or did it get cut from being like a 3 or 4 episode arc to?
I don't know. I
like
mean,
almost happened to Tsubasa Cat. Like, is that what happened? Did they run out of money and were like, well, 2 episodes now?
I feel like you're right. I feel like that arc is more about Araragi and Kanbaru.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's also not a great excuse for just like Nadeko being shoved into a box somewhere.
Mm-mm. Well, it doesn't help that she has one of the most anime reasons to be around him, which is, you're my secret childhood friend. Da, 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 da. Like,
secret childhood friend crush.
Come on.
Yeah, well, what do you do? That opening's really good, though. Let's just talk about the Nadeko Snake opening. Very good.
Very good. So, Shinjo Gahara is obviously best girl forever.
Yeah. Okay, so cons against her. One,
She's not real.
she has a hime cut every once in a while.
Yeah.
Um,
She has a ponytail.
she's not androgynous enough. Yeah.
Not for you.
Well, ponytail. You can put that aside. She does definitely edge towards yandere, so she's got that.
I don't know if she's true
she is-
yandere, though.
Oh no, she's edging towards it. That's what I said. She edges towards yandere, which I'm of course for.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely femme leaning. Not necessarily androgynous enough.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah. Though again, like she's got this quasi hime cut from time to time.
I do have to confess that when this show came out in 2010, just a few years after college, I was like, yeah, this is probably the ideal relationship that I've seen in media, and I'm kind of jealous. It's like the first time I've actually been jealous of a relationship in any kind of anime.
Good.
I'm like, this seems real, and she seems like the kind of woman that has it all together.
Yeah, kind of,
like
more or less.
And she's not like super
Except
overconfident
for the
about it.
parts.
She's insecure about a lot of things, but she at least knows who she is.
Yep.
And that's a big deal.
I think I'm more of a Suruga fan. Not for Araragi, obviously. Because, I mean, here's the thing. There's an OTP in the show, and it is 100% legit, and, like, there's just no breaking that up without feeling like a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, I think Kambaru is more my type.
Yeah, not mine. I found her a little annoying, but
Really?
I tend to find
that's fair.
people who are high energy kind of annoying.
I mean, that's fair, but I think she does it well.
However,
yeah,
I want to throw this out as an idea. Tell me what you think of this. After the end of the show,
hate it.
After the end of the show, I thought, you know what I really want instead of whatever the sequel to this is?
Well, there's a whole bunch of problems with the sequels.
Well, let's not talk about the sequels. I want this sequel, and that sequel is a Senjo Gahara and Shinobu slice of life show. Thoughts?
I like the idea.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at the idea. Let's not think about execution. Just the idea.
Okay. Well, yeah, the idea is fine.
That's all I want.
But I think you would end up with some sort of weird Fumoffu thing where it's like a little too tonally dissonant with the core show. Granted, the other problem is it's hard to compare that to Fumoffu because Fumoffu, while tonally dissonant with the show, the problem is the best part of Full Metal Panic are the parts of it that are like Fumoffu.
Or not Full Metal Panic.
Yeah, are the parts of Full Metal Panic that are more like Full Metal Panic Fumoffu. So
I just wanted more Shinobu. I think she's my second favorite character.
Yeah. So
especially at the end of Tsubasa, I was like, holy crap, I want more of whatever that is.
So there's an anime that covers what happened during Golden Week, and I know there's a novel series that does too. I would probably not watch. I think that anime is supposed to be one of the better seasons.
Okay, because I know there's like a million seasons, but
Nisei Monogatari is supposed to be like okay, but I think that one was supposed to be one of the better ones.
I may have to watch them then because, like I said,
well, because
she's my second favorite.
Kind of bad. Kind of most of the other seasons are kind of garbage.
Well, isn't one just like toothbrushing for an absurd long time?
That's the infamous one. Because I think some of the others aren't directed by the same guy. And, you know, again, it's still a bunch of talking heads. And they try to do weird stuff to, like, distract you from the talking heads. But, like, there's only one guy who could direct it and, like, make it work. And that's this guy. So anytime it gets shuffled off to another director, I think is when it's like, oh, you're imitating, but you have no idea what to actually do to make this work.
Yeah, Nisei Monogatari is the one with the toothbrushing scene.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about it other than it goes on for way too long and is extremely, I don't want to say erotic, but
trying to be erotic.
It's trying to be erotic. It's trying to be like food porn shows, except about toothbrushing for like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I think we could probably go on and on about Bakemonogatari for at least 3 other episodes because of how well done it is.
Yeah.
I think this is probably where we're going to have to call it.
I think so. So what should we watch next time?
I don't know. What do you want to watch?
I think we had, what was it? Suisei no Gargantia next?
Oh, Gargantia? Yeah, I can watch Gargantia. It's pretty good. Yeah, no, Gargantia is good. Yeah, it does a fun thing, though. It's kind of like, again, to always go back to my good old My Hime. Right? It's My Hime? Yeah. Yeah, where the first half is like super light and like kind of garbagey, and then the second half is really good, and fights, and then the last episode's garbage.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's My Hime. It's like that. Only the part that's the lighthearted half is not garbage. It's just like kind of cute and lighthearted, but then there's a turn halfway through, and you're like, oh wow, back to this then. But it ends on a good note.
Oh, good.
It's a solid show. But definitely does that thing where it's like, oh, super heavy, you're going to get into this heavy show. And it's like, nope, 6 episodes of lightness. And then it's like, super heavy again. But it needs the light half to let you know
where the darkness comes.
Yeah, basically, right? Because it's another like war show. So it's juxtaposing, peace with violence. Yeah.
Makes sense.
In order for the violence to have a punch for why these characters don't like it and why it is #bad, it's gotta establish like an Arcadia before it can like give you a good threat to it.
Cool.
If you have a war show with no Arcadia to be threatened, then there's no real point.
Sounds like a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, no, it's good though.
So we will watch that next time. Join us then for another episode of Aniki.